before we get into too much discussion about how an organism can use energy, we need to know what it actually means to be energy and to create energy and to convert energy. So what we have to look at is how some organisms are actually able to do this in very, very different ways than our normal processes in our systems allow. So take, for instance, the firefly here on your screen. The idea here is that the firefly is actually using chemical reactions to convert chemical energy into visible light, a process known as bioluminescence. Now, you do not bioluminesce, so we have to think about ways in which these sorts of processes are interconnected, but how they're going to be different for all different types of organisms. Things like our squid also bioluminesce. In this case, a version of communication. So they are in a very dark environment, and this allows them to actually communicate with predators, with prey, and with potential mates. But all of it is based in the idea that in our cells we have a lot going on and they all require energy. So all day long you are doing thousands of chemical reactions in every single cell in your body. And primarily they're used for maintenance. So building things, replacing organelles, making proteins, so on. Manufacturing. And again, things like building proteins and so on. And then cell replication. So we'll look what it means to actually replicate a cell in the coming lectures, but for now we need to think about it as kind of a combination of maintenance and manufacturing. So when we look at energy in our cell, what we're really looking for is the cell's ability, or anything's ability, to change or perform work. So what we're looking for in this case is how your cell actually goes about powering all of this energy and providing all of this energy that is needed for all of those processes of maintenance and replication and so on. We look at two basic types of energy, one being kinetic and one being potential. So when we look at kinetic energy, or energy of motion, this is what is actually going to be causing the change in performing the work, but the potential energy is what is some of the most important for us to focus on, because this is the way we store energy. So we have to look at how we take that potential energy and make it do something. So in your car and in you, the process is not all that different. We take in fuel in some sort, so gasoline for your car, glucose or sugars for you, and we add oxygen. When we do that, your cells, by cell respiration, are going to be able to convert that glucose into carbon dioxide and water, and actually in the meantime store some ATP and again use it later for cellular work. In your car also is going to produce CO2 and oxygen, and produces some heat as well, just like you do. But in this case, instead of storing it as ATP, the energy converted is actually into kinetic energy and allows your car to move forward. So this heat that we mentioned is very important, because we have to understand that with every conversion of energy, we lose some as heat. These conversions are not perfect. They are actually very imperfect in most cases, and so when we look at this kinetic energy, the heat itself that we're releasing with these conversions, in your car you can feel it. The hood of your car is hot. For you, you can feel it sometimes too. Your body temperature is maintained by these reactions, but as you get warm outside in the summertime, that production of energy along with the heat of the sun will cause your body to heat up more than is normal. So when we look at this idea of potential energy, we have to think about this as being the most important type of energy for living organisms, because that potential energy is what is going to be able to power everything that our cells do. So when we talk about thermodynamics in biology, we focus on the ability of an organism, and in particular its cells, to convert energy into a usable form based on what's available in its surroundings and what processes it needs to actually go through. There are two major laws of thermodynamics. We don't get into them much in biology. What we want to focus more on is how the cells are actually going to use oxygen and the fuel source for you being sugars primarily, that will then take that energy from the sugars, store it as something usable in your cells, and then actually do something with it in the future. So cell respiration, or the conversion of that fuel into ATP that is able to do cellular work, this process is fairly complex in that we can't just burn the sugar quickly. You know what happens if you accidentally burn sugar, or if you light sugar on fire. It converts to heat and light very, very quickly. That doesn't work inside your body. We've got to find a way to modify this process and make it a much more efficient conversion for you. And we'll talk about that more later on. You are actually pretty efficient in the grand scheme of things. We estimate that your car is about 25% efficient, a regular gasoline car. Human respiration, that cellular respiration or breakdown of glucose into ATP, is about 37% efficient, 37 to 40 depending on your source. And then a conventional power plant, like a coal power plant, is about 34% efficient. So you're not bad in the grand scheme of things. But we have to look at how much effort it takes to actually be 37 to 40% efficient.